It's happening again. Manchester City are shifting through the gears. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video we're talking about Manchester City, who have closed the gap on league leaders Liverpool to just 2 points following their huge 3-1 victory over Brentford last night, in which Phil Foden was the star of the show. His hat-trick helped Manchester City to overcome a 1-0 deficit. Brentford went ahead very early on through Neal Maupay, but Phil Foden stole the show, got his hat-trick, and put City 3-1 ahead by the final whistle. The victory means that Manchester City are currently on 49 points, just 2 points behind Liverpool, ahead of Arsenal, only on goal difference. But City hold the cards. They hold their destiny in their hands by having that one game in hand over Jurgen Klopp's side, in which, of course, they know a victory will see them leapfrog Liverpool into that top of the table spot going forward. We're going to be talking about Manchester City and about last night's victory and about them going forward and everything. But before we go any further, we'd like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage you all to get involved in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings are on Manchester City down below. And all of that good stuff. So let me know all of that good stuff. Get involved down below. Would love to hear from you all and love to read all your comments and thoughts and feelings and everything. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Manchester City. First and foremost, City are incredible. City are seemingly inevitable, and it seems to be that part of the season. It's that time of the year again where Manchester City just starts shifting through the gears, like what we saw of them before the Club World Cup. Because what we've seen from them since the Club World Cup has been a City side that have been ruthless and relentless. The City side we knew and know they can be. And that's exactly what we've seen from them since they returned from the Club World Cup, and they were triumphant over there in Saudi Arabia. And they won that competition for the first time in their history. An incredible achievement by Pep Guardiola. Brilliant by Manchester City. But since then, they've been absolutely relentless in everything that they've done. They've just dispatched teams left, right and centre. They've got the likes of Phil Foden firing on all cylinders. They've got Kevin De Bruyne back from injury. Erling Haaland, by the way, hasn't really been there for the most part. His injury has obviously hindered him this past month or two. So they've had to deal with, obviously, no Haaland in that time. But Julian Alvarez has really stepped up to the plate during that time as well. And, of course, they've had other key contributors from elsewhere, the likes of your usual suspects in obviously like the likes of Bernardo Silva and Rodri and people like that. And obviously defensively, you know, I think there are still vulnerabilities to City defensively, but I don't think there's enough that has been exploited by opposition defences during that time. I think there are obviously bigger things to overcome for Manchester City. There are bigger obstacles in the way. They've still got to go to Anfield, for example. They've still got to face Arsenal for the second time this season. They've still got the likes of Manchester United to come, and I think they've still got Tottenham to play as well, if memory serves me correctly. And they've got other interesting and intriguing clashes, like the likes of your Brightons and even to an extent, you know, even some of the ones that you wouldn't normally expect, but may also throw a bit of a spanner in the works, the likes of your West Hams and everything. So Chelsea maybe throwing it out there. So, you know, there are still a lot of big tests to come for Pep Guardiola's side, but so far they are seemingly shifting through the gears like we know that they can do and like we know that they normally tend to do when it reaches this point in the season. Normally when it reaches that February kind of period, that's where Pep Guardiola like kind of just, to use like that obviously EA Sports kind of phrase, leans forward and really takes the game much more seriously than what he was. Because obviously before the Club World Cup, we were seeing City seemingly a bit vulnerable. We were seeing City drop points to the likes of your Crystal Palaces and lose to games like Wolves, and Arsenal beat them early on in the season as well. Did they drop points to Brighton as well? They dropped points to someone. It might have been a Brighton. It might have been someone else. I don't necessarily remember who it was, but it was someone that you probably wouldn't necessarily expect. But obviously, since that Club World Cup, that seems to have been like a bit of a refresher for them. Now, granted, I don't think they really needed to strain themselves too hard in that competition. They seem to dispatch that competition and be successful in that competition with ease. But since obviously coming back from Saudi Arabia, it seems that they have just been immense, just been incredible to watch. Yes, there are still a few things that need to be ironed out, and there are still a few things that I'm sure Pep Guardiola won't be too happy with. Necessarily the goal yesterday that they conceded at the hands of Brentford and Neal Maupay. And there was a little bit about me yesterday that was going into that game, and I was obviously hoping that Brentford could do us a favour, because obviously the way that Liverpool played, performed, and obviously got the dreadful result in against Arsenal on Sunday means that the advantage fully lies with Manchester City going forward as far as the title race is concerned for at least a foreseeable future. And obviously I know that Brentford have been a bit of a bogey team to Manchester City in the past, but, you know, once Phil Foden got them back to 1-1, there was only really going to be one winner. And even before then, you know, Brentford didn't really threaten much. They got a bit of good fortune about their own goal. And, you know, if it wasn't for an inspired performance by Flecken in between the sticks for the Bees, it could have been a much more dangerous and obviously high-scoring game in favour of Pep Guardiola's side. But this is exactly what City do. City, normally it takes them a bit of a while to really warm up, but then when the chips are down and when it starts getting to the more important part of the season, that's where Guardiola, like I say, he does his little lean forward and then he really takes it seriously, and that's where the City side really come into their own. And I still think there are questions about this City side. I think defensively there are still vulnerabilities there that we've seen that I think teams haven't fully taken advantage of in recent games or even across the season. And I still think there are vulnerabilities in terms of maybe the fact that I think City rely on a couple of big players in particular. I think if you take Rodri out, if you take De Bruyne out, are they the same team in that midfield? Absolutely not, because the likes of Mateo Kovacic and Mateus Nunes really haven't stepped up to the plate, I don't think, so far during their City campaigns and City careers so far. So I do think there is a lot more to come from this City side in terms of maybe them kind of new players that are there. I still think there's a lot more to come in terms of obviously bigger obstacles and bigger things to overcome as far as what City are concerned between now and obviously getting down to the run-in, and then from the run-in obviously down to the wire and obviously crossing that finish line towards winning the Premier League title for what might be the fourth time in a row for their Premier League titles and everything. So I do think there's a lot more to come, and I do think there is a lot more challenge and tribulation to come and to overcome as far as what Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are concerned. And like I say, it's going to be interesting on the injury front. If they can keep everybody firing and healthy and everything, and they keep the rotation fresh, and Pep doesn't overthink things, it could be another historic and incredible season for Pep Guardiola's side. They are still in the FA Cup, the Champions League. They're obviously going to be heavy favourites for going forward, and obviously the Premier League is now in their hands firmly. As far as the foreseeable future goes, it could be another historic season for Pep Guardiola. A treble, back-to-back trebles, and not only back-to-back trebles, but winning the Premier League title 4 times in a row, the FA Cup twice in a row, the Champions League twice in a row. It could be another incredible season for Pep Guardiola. There is obviously the 115 charges. We cannot obviously talk about Manchester City without mentioning the 115 charges and the day in court that they will have seemingly at the end of the season, it seems. Look, that could all wipe out everything that has been happening with Manchester City for the past 10 to 15 years. That could obviously wipe out everything to do with or the majority of English football for the past 15 years. That could obviously wipe out everything that City have become these past 15 years. They will loom over their heads. They will get their day in court. We will have to wait and see whether or not they are in fact found guilty, not guilty of those particular charges. But as of right now, we can only talk about the here and now because obviously they don't want to do it until later on down the line. So we can only talk about the here and now. And City, for me, are scary. Like I say, they've got players that are coming into form at the right time. Your likes of your Phil Fodens, your Kevin De Bruyne's coming back from injury. He doesn't look like he skipped a beat, by the way, despite being on the sidelines for a lengthy amount of time. He doesn't look like he skipped a beat at all. You've got your Edersons in goal. That's, I think I've always found to be overrated, but it is what it is. The defensive line, like I say, is strong for the most part, but can be exploited. I feel like with the right kind of strategy to it. I think there are vulnerabilities there. Midfield wise, like I say, I think the starting 11 is strong, and especially when you look at that midfield area, the starting midfield is very strong. I think beyond that, it does look a little bit fragile. So they're going to need to, especially the likes of Rodri and De Bruyne, like I say, they are going to want to keep them thick and firing going forward, fit and healthy. If Foden is going to be more in that central role, of course you can always put Bernardo Silva in there, but he's more preferred on the right. There are options there, but it's going to be mainly about keeping the likes of De Bruyne and Rodri fit, because I think beyond that, they will obviously be weakened. And then the forward line, like I say, they haven't really had much of Haaland this past month or two, but they've managed to survive without him in terms of the goal scoring output. Julian Alvarez, like I say, stepped up. Phil Foden stepped up. They find goals from other positions and other places. Jeremy Doku, I'm sure, will like to get more involved, and I'm sure there's a lot more to come from him in particular. He had a very electric start to his career at Manchester City, but has somewhat been a little bit found out in recent times. Obviously, there's more to come from Jack Grealish as well, I'm sure. And I'm sure those kinds of players will have big parts to play as the season wears on. But let's say, looking at City last night, it was scary. The amount of chances that they had on target, the way that obviously the Brentford goalkeeper played, should be given all the credit in the world for. But it's scary the way that City are once again shifting through the gears. We all expected it. It's weird because we all sort of expected it, and we all know that City can shift through the gears at the appropriate and important times throughout a season. But it's still impressive the level of consistency that in which City do this. So it's been incredible to watch. I'm praying obviously that Liverpool can do something. I don't think Arsenal will be able to going forward, but the way that I see it, City are the favourites. I've said that time and time again. My position on that has not changed, and even more so, obviously given the fact that Arsenal beat Liverpool this past weekend, and Liverpool were the ones to drop points. The advantage is firmly back within City's grasp. Their destiny is in their hands, and the big fear for me is that if City do go on and win the title, which I'm expecting them to do, like I say, the amount of achievements that will make across not only just a 2-year period, but across the past 4 years of them winning 4 Premier League titles in a row. I think the last 6 in 7 years or whatever it may be. The scary part for me is that with Jurgen Klopp leaving at the end of the season, Mikel Arteta, to me, not being capable enough, I guess, of winning a Premier League title, in my opinion. This City side could genuinely dominate for many, many a year to come. And if that is to be the case, we are only to hope and pray that these 115 charges land and they hurt City, and City go right the way down to relegation status of being at the bottom of the football pyramid or wherever, or close to it, or closer to it, should I say. At that, depending on obviously what the charges are broke, because otherwise they're going to dominate football for a long, long time to come until Guardiola leaves, and then after that, maybe, just maybe, we may get a couple of years of City in transition, and maybe some other team will step up to the plate. But otherwise, no. City are incredible. City are consistent. City are dominating, and they're shifting through the gears right now, and it's scary times for everybody that's going to be facing Manchester City right now. Scary times, but it is what it is, and City will continue the way they are. And like I say, it's going to be interesting to watch everything unfold. But they are the favourites in my eyes, and understandably so. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I don't know what you guys think. What do you make of Manchester City right now? What do you make of last night's victory against Brentford? Do you see them winning the Premier League title again this season? Do you see them maybe winning more and having another historic season like they did the last campaign? Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on Manchester City going forward for this season. Let me know all of that good stuff down below in the comment section. I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content. These both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. See you all again soon.